There are some whores in this house.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Big massive dumps.
There's insanity in the control room.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here. Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Welcome to TGIF. It's Friday. We got a show for you all. It's a good one. I think it's going to be a good one. We got more conservatives coming out and calling out Donald Trump for his insistence on believing in conspiracy theories and spreading it. We also have a very ironic story involving a QAnoner MAGA rioter. It appears he has a little bit of a shady past. Interesting stuff. That's the QAnon, of course, stuff is going to really play into it. We got Mike Pence talking about January 6th. We've got a black delivery driver. Also, probably my favorite story of the day. Black delivery driver goes off. Finally has had enough of racist white rich people. You're going to love that video. It's fantastic. And then, of course, before we get into that, we have the latest negotiations on President Biden's infrastructure bill, which is going to absolutely enrage you. I know, look, every time I talk about the Democrats, every time I talk about Biden and Joe Manchin and negotiation, every time my blood boils. And so you're not going to be surprised if I rage out during that segment. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to get frustrated. And then hopefully we will get my blood pressure back in line when we talk about the delivery driver. So that's later on, the second half of the show. Yes, former President Trump has been banned from Facebook for 2 years. 2023. Oh, election season. Yes, of course. Ironic, isn't it? Fun times. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. Before I do, like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very helpful if you do so. Also, I do want to talk a little bit about last night. So last night, Mike Figueredo, Humanist Report, I was on his show, his Twitch stream, and it was an excellent conversation. It was like a 3-hour conversation. It was a 4-hour stream. I would definitely highly recommend that after you're done with today's live stream, check that out. Amazing conversation. Mike's based as hell, and it was excellent. We talked a bunch of different things. We talked shop, we talked YouTube, we talked grifters. We also talked about the Democrats. I raged on them for a while. We both did, and so it was just an excellent conversation. And of course, the first hour, Mike shared his coming out story. So when it came to a Pride, that was an excellent thing as well. And so, yeah, check it out. It was a lot of fun. I am super exhausted from that. Mainly because it was, again, a 3-hour conversation, incredibly late. And so, hey, Crazy Hawaiian and PA, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Loved your chat with Humanist Report last night. Yes, thank you. I saw you in the chat, by the way. Some of you were there, and it was really nice to see. It's really nice to see that this cross-pollination with our respective audiences, because we have a lot in common. And so, yeah, great conversation. Always enjoy talking with Mike. Maybe he'll put up some highlights from that on his channel. I would definitely check those out. He's on Twitch, by the way. Does some gaming stuff, gaming streams on there on Thursday nights normally. So, if you could check him out over there, it's, I believe, Humanist Report on Twitch. So check that out. Go follow his channel. And of course, him on YouTube as well. So, all right, anyway. Yeah, it got way too late. It really was late. But go check out the VOD. Real good discussion. All right. With that said, let's dive in. We'll start out with the National Review. Conservatives over the National Review are getting a little concerned about the behavior and the mental state of former President Donald Trump. The senior writer for the conservative publication C.W. Cook recently wrote on the magazine's website that the scale of Trump's delusion is quite, quote unquote, startling. Yes, startling. No kidding. I'm just gonna have to ask C.W. Cook, and maybe this is an unfair question, unfair assertion, but where have you been for the last 4 years? Honest question. Maybe you've written stuff against Donald Trump before, previously, calling into question his mental faculties and his estate, right? But if you haven't, and if you just noticed, you're a little late to the party, brother. I'm just saying, he's mental. There's something literally wrong with Donald Trump. He is running around fully immersed, balls deep into conspiracies. The guy is high in his own supply because I believe, and I'm not I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that, but I think the guy is emotionally and mentally damaged. There is something wrong with him. Normal people don't act like this. Normal people do not act like this. Anyway, Cook said, and again, I'm not trying to be ableist here. Like, the guy needs some obvious help. All right? Sociopathy, something like that. There's something wrong with the dude. Okay? Anyway, now Cook said, quote, that an array of different sources confirmed a report earlier this week by the New York Times journalist Maggie Haberman, who said on Twitter that Trump has been sharing the popular new QAnon conspiracy. Of course, that's the reinstatement conspiracy. In fact, he said, look, I've been talking about this nonstop for like at least the last week. He thinks, oh, in August, they're going to reinstate me as president of the United States. I'm going to be president. Mike Pillow tells me. His pillows, by the way, absolutely tremendous. Very comfortable. Nobody could have ever imagined a pillow that is that comfortable. Tremendous pillows. Also, I believe he likes to share his crack with me. Oh, okay. Imagine believing Mike Pillow. All right? Seriously. Holy crap. Or people like Lynn Wood or Sidney Powell. Let me tell you who they are. Those are all vultures. and Donald Trump is a bloated corpse. I'm just saying. Now, Cook went further, saying that Trump not only believes he'll be put back in the Oval Office, but also that he will be gifted with a Republican majority once he has done so. Again, going back to the whole, the election was totally invalid, and so since that's invalid, it means every election, every Democrat, by the way, every Democrat that got elected, obviously totally invalid, so they're going to get replaced by Republicans, because Republicans are the so-called true leaders of this country. Okay. Now, of course, I got to ask, based on what? There's absolutely no evidence of that, but they don't need evidence. They don't need evidence. They don't need facts. They live in their own completely different reality. All right. But anyway, more of Cook. He said, this is not merely an eccentric interpretation of the facts or an interesting foible, nor is it an irrelevant example of the anguished post-presidency chatter. Let me just stop right there. Cook is, yes, he's making valid points, but why does he need to write like a douchebag? Maybe this is just like a personal thing. Maybe this is just like, I'm tired of people like, what does this guy bring up I can't even say that word. The thesaurus. See, this is douchebaggy writing. Swear to God. And maybe I'm just like tired, but like, you don't have to sit there and, and write like that. Just talk like a normal human being. And again, the elitist, writers over on the conservative side, they want to sound like super smart. Okay, I get it. Like, you're smart. Sure. Write like a normal human being, for God's sakes. Come on. But anyway, he continues by saying, and he's right, it is a rejection of reality, a rejection of law, and ultimately a rejection of the entire system of the American government. And again, he's absolutely right. It's very true. It's incredibly obvious. And understand that, yeah, of course, conservatives know this. They've known this for a long time. Obviously. Mainly the ones who are, only conservative because they want to pay nothing in taxes or low taxes, right? And that's really it. Understand, and I pointed this out before, there's two different types of conservatives. There's the economic conservatives that are like, I don't care. I just want to pay less in taxes, get the government off my back. I want to save money. I don't really care about helping poor people, especially if poor people happen to be black. All right? And then there's the other side. Then there's the people who don't have the money, who will stand for incredibly wealthy CEOs and corporations, mainly because, again, you talk about racism, and then you have conspiracy theories, and all that stuff. Okay? Now, the rich people who just want to pay less in taxes, they're not idiots. No, they're smart people, they're business owners, etc. And they're looking at the QAnon stuff, and they're like, y'all are crazy. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? All I want to do, like, just shut your mouth, okay? Keep voting for Republican politicians, obviously, but not people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are insane. I just want to go back to paying less in taxes and not giving a shit about poor people. Why are you doing this? Why are you making us look bad? And I feel like Cook is part of that group of Republicans. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, just shut up and let us have low taxes, for God's sakes. Holy shit. You're going to ruin it for me, guys. Shut up. Now, of course, the key issue here is it is now very taboo in the party to speak against the conspiracy right, which used to be considered a fringe in the party, but has gained prominence over the last decade. Again, it's not Donald Trump's fault. He capitalized on this. But the conspiracy element has always been a part of the Republican Party. Now they have been absolutely elevated by people like Trump and Trumpists and the Fox Newses of the world and the conservative media. They've basically taken over. Okay. And again, it's now heresy in the party to speak against conspiracies like QAnon or even against Donald Trump, because again, the base believes it. And it is and it's really a problem of their own making. They did this to themselves. The elites prime their followers to believe in everything or anything. Hey, magic sky fairy watching you masturbate? Sure. Totally real. Jesus gonna hoover people up into heaven? Despite, that part, the rapture, not actually being a part of the Bible, they believe it 100%. Absolutely. The evangelicals. Trickle-down economics. Boosting the wealth of the poor and the middle class. Well, you know what? Something's going to trickle down on you, but it ain't wealth. All right? They have been taught to believe that in things that are not true. And those things ultimately are distractions in order to allow the billionaires and millionaires to extract wealth. It's true. Prosperity gospel, great example of that. The megachurch owners, the Joel Osteens of the world, the politicians that are bought by corporations, the wealthy CEOs. These are the people the Republican Party actually end up serving at the end of the day. But it turns out, of course, that those policies are not popular. They're just not. Okay? As a working class person, ask them, right? Ask a working class person, you think Jeff Bezos deserves another extra $1 billion while you're working your ass off for minimum wage? They're going to tell you, no. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Fuck Amazon. I actually want to get paid. I want to get paid, fairly for my work. And most, working class people are going to say that, okay? More often than not, you're going to find people who want to make more money at the expense of billionaires being slightly less rich. Taxing the rich is actually incredibly popular across all lines, all political leanings. So now how do you get, so then how do you get people to vote against their own class interests? Well, they got to trick people with conspiracies, culture war bullshit, and inundate them constantly with rage bait. And that's it. The result, of course, of all of that is that you end up turning off the people's, the logic center in people's brains, and then you keep them angry, you feed them lies, and then you get them constantly voting for Republicans. And you, of course, at the end of the day, you also end up getting people like Marjorie Taylor Greene voted in office as well. And so we've kind of reached like end stage peak Republicanism where the crazies have taken over and they run the asylum. Okay. And of course, racism. It's always been a part of the Republican Party, I should say not of the Republican Party, but of the conservative movement in general, which has changed parties going all the way back to civil rights. But again, conservatives like Cook, they know this. They realize that Donald Trump has gone too far and that the conspiracy element of the party has taken over. And so, and they also know that it threatens to obliterate the idea of conservatives taking power for decades. Again, that's why most Republicans now, even though, especially the ones that are the wealthy ones, the want tax cuts, they're like, no, we're going to keep pushing voter ID. We're going to make sure to not, allow people to vote. Liz Cheney is an excellent example of that. You got Liz Cheney, it's like, oh, big lie, big lie, big lie. Can't believe in the big lie. Donald Trump's lying about this, but also we need to do massive voter ID. And we need to do voter purges, and we need to make sure that, Democrats don't pass voting rights. Well, there's a reason. She knows. It's all about keeping their power, centralizing their power, and making sure that they don't lose elections, to continue to serve their donors and themselves. That's really it. And so the thing is that they don't want to see is that they don't want to see people, who think about the Republican Party, seeing Donald Trump, the QAnon shaman guy, 500,000 people dead from COVID-19, and obviously January 6th. That's not a good place for your party to be, and they realize this. And by the way, I am saying this as somebody who doesn't give a shit about the Republican Party as an institution. Unlike Nancy Pelosi, I do not believe that we need a strong Republican Party. I believe the Republican Party is an absolute disaster and a cancer in the country. I'm just saying, fuck them. Let the Republican Party die, because after all, they did this to themselves. My view as a leftist is the United States of America is better off without the current Republican Party. Let the Democrats take over in the center right, and have a new leftist party. That would be fantastic. That's what I would love to see. If we're going to be stuck with a duopoly, I'd at least have something, at least have a left-wing party for once. But right now, the Republican Party has descended into complete and utter madness. It is, and Donald Trump is the final form, if you will, the final evolution of the boss, the final boss, okay? And anybody who can see the reality knows that following him is going to lead them right off a cliff. Cook also wrote that Trump is, quote, so unmoored from the real world that it is hard to know where to begin in attempting to explain him. Look, what's to explain at this point? Honestly, we all know who he is. Okay, and the Republican base right now overwhelmingly approves because he says and does the things that they want. They love him. So at the end of the day, Mr. Cook, you get yourself a real problem, son. And unfortunately, your problem is the rest of our problem because of the way that the system is. So, God help us all, if you believe in that. All right. That went a little longer than I thought. But fuck me. So depressing. So incredibly depressing. A QAnon MAGA rioter arrested for storming the Capitol on January 6th, who had heckled police and accused them of protecting the quote-unquote satanic pedophiles, ended up actually having a bit of a shady history, a bad past. Turns out that Sean McHugh, a man who had fought police as the mob of Trump supporters was trying to breach the Capitol, had actually served jail time previously for statutory rape. Oops. Sad. Of a 14-year-old child, by the way. Irony, because there is video, there is body cam footage of McHugh yelling, quote, "You guys like protecting pedophiles, you're protecting communists." Those two things are not the same, by the way. "I'd be shaking in your little boots too. There's a Second Amendment behind us. What are you going to do then?" Let me just point out that if he were black and a liberal, an actual communist, or even a leftist, he'd be dead. Like, that shit wouldn't fly. And when it's right-wingers that do it, well, of course, please just let them in. But if it was the left wing that that was actually invading the Capitol, and that's notwithstanding the conspiracy theory that half of all Republicans believe that, no, it was actually the left wing. It was secret Antifa soy boy soldiers that were somehow simultaneously incredibly strong and were able to look make Donald Trump look bad, but also incredibly weak. I know, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so much projection. As CNN points out, McHugh was convicted back in 2010 on a state charge of unlawful sex with a minor. He was sentenced to 240 days in jail, which he did not serve the full term, with 4 years of probation. The victim was 14, while McHugh was 23 years old when the crime had occurred. So, yeah, clearly statutory rape. Where's QAnon? Where's QAnon? What happened to protecting the children? What happened to protecting the children? You're not protecting the children. You're preying on the children. That's what happened. And yet you're like, oh no, it's the cops that are protecting the pedophiles. You are the pedophile, sir. I mean, then again, I guess since he is one, he might have a convicted one, then I guess he might have some insight into who is and who is not a pedophile. Again, the whole conspiracy theory that's QAnon is, oh no, it's the Democrats that are the satanic pedophiles they are running the world and they're drinking the brain juice of frightened children. It is complete and utter insanity, especially considering, of course, how much projection this actually is. And that's all they have. And by the way, they also did this on behalf of Donald Trump, who is notorious for walking into, for example, dressing rooms for girls who are changing, some as young as, I believe, 14. Not only that, but also alleged to have done some unwanted advances, even rape, touching, kissing. He is, without consent. He has partied with Jeffrey Epstein, a notorious pedophile, even remarking that he knows that Epstein, quote, likes him young. Yeah. How can somebody who actually cares about stopping child trafficking and stopping actual child predators ally with that guy? I know. It's messed up. It really shows that I think that they don't actually care. And they're deep into this conspiracy. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was like, oh, no, that's not my fault. No, she came onto me. And I had no idea that she was 14. Oh, no. Or coming up with some other ridiculous weak sauce excuse. Come on, dude. Really? Come on. And I look, obviously, I don't know the details of the case. I'm speculating. I don't know. But the projection, it just seems massive. Now, McHugh, by the way, and this is good, has been charged with 8 federal crimes in regards to being a part of the riot, including trespassing, obstructing congressional proceedings, and assaulting police officers with a dangerous weapon. So now if he's found guilty and doesn't, get a plea deal, well, then he's looking at some serious trouble, to which I say, good, because I feel like the streets and young girls would be a lot safer with this guy off the streets and away from them. So, anyway, let's go to Mike Pence. Let's dive in. Former Vice President Mike Pence recently broke his silence concerning the January 6th Capitol attack on Thursday. And of course, you're not going to be surprised that it was fairly milquetoast. Now, he did this before a Republican Party event at the Doubletree Hotel in Manchester. Here's what he said, quote, January 6th was a dark day in the history of the United States. But thanks to the swift action of the U.S. Capitol Police and federal law enforcement, violence was quelled. And, of course, the violence he's referring to is from the right wing, the far right. He says the Capitol was secured. And that same day, we reconvened Congress and did our duty under the Constitution and the laws of the United States. So now his role, of course, was to certify the election. And mainly it was ceremonial. I mean, whether he did so or not really wouldn't have affected the outcome. But if you ask Donald Trump, if you ask QAnon, if you ask the Trump supporters, they believe that Mike Pence could have single-handedly refused to certify and therefore made sure that Trump stayed in power. I mean, it is to say that it's a gross misunderstanding of the powers of the vice president and the duties of the vice president. It's pretty much an understatement, okay? To say that Pence had the power to overturn the election is ridiculous. 100% ignorant. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. He learned absolutely nothing about how government works, how the government that he is supposed to be the head of actually works. He didn't know his own job, much less anybody else's. No, he spent all of his time in executive time watching what cable news said, eating hamburgers, and then, or cheeseburgers, and drinking Diet Coke, and then, when able to, going out and doing ridiculous speeches where people would listen to him talk for over an hour, or 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. Absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, here's what Pence said. Pence continues by saying, President Trump and I have spoken many times since we left office, and I don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye on that day. The day that he made it so that people would threaten Mike Pence. Again, there were people in the Capitol building that were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." As a result, and like after seeing Trump's tweets about Mike Pence, oh, but we didn't see eye to eye. Dude almost had you murdered. What a weak individual. What a sad, pathetic individual. My God. But then he said this: I will always be proud of what we accomplished for the American people over the last 4 years. Yes, what you accomplished. You drove the country further into the arms of conspiracy theorists, the Republican Party. And well, you know, you did cut taxes for the donors, for the corporations. I guess you should be proud of that. Went after punished immigrants, went after women. So, you know, of course, somebody like Mike Pence loves that. If you care about, you know, pleasing your donors and getting paid, well, then I guess you'll be pretty happy with the Trump administration. Mike Pence.
Mike Pounds.
God, pathetic. Pathetic. Now, Business Insider, again, this is a Republican group, right? So now that crowd broke into applause after that. But Business Insider reporter Jake LaHoot, whose remarks the reporter said that those remarks had changed the tone of the evening. Quote, there was almost a palpable shock in the room when Pence mentioned January 6th. The vibe gotten much quieter since Pence had brought it up. I wonder why. Well, that's kind of curious. Maybe it's because, I don't know, the people in the room might have believed that that the January 6th was like what? Antifa super soldiers? That had, you know, again, half of all Republicans believed that it was secret Antifa dressing up as Trump supporters to make them look bad. I don't know why they would clap and cheer. Otherwise, Pence had been full of praise for the former president and went after the Democrats. In fact, when he was talking about January 6th, he also accused Democrats of, quote, trying to use the day to distract our attention from Biden. Ah, yes, distraction from the Biden administration. The Biden administration, they've already broken a bunch of promises to progressives and has been bending over backwards to try to work with Republicans. But hey, go off, King. Yeah, total distraction. Total distraction. And in fact, I think the Biden administration would love a distraction right now. Imagine, by the way, if Democrats invaded the Capitol. First off, they would be dead. Okay? They would be. No doubts about it. If it was BLM that were on the steps and had charged into the Capitol building, they would be all in prison or dead. But if it's right-wingers, they let them in until they start smashing things. And so, but of course, as I mentioned, 50% of Republicans believe that happened anyway, that it was BLM or Antifa, okay? And it's just complete and utter insanity. But if it were true, and it's not true, but if it were, Fox News would have never stopped talking about it. Instead, what is Fox News talking about now? Biden's dog, Dr. Seuss, Chick-fil-A, running out of sauces. And that is somehow Joe Biden's fault. That's what they're talking about right now. So, I don't know. It kind of feels like the Republicans are the ones that want the distraction. Okay? Ridiculous, right? And the reason, of course, their attacks on Biden are not landing is because Biden has been trying and going out of his way to be incredibly conciliatory towards conservatives because he himself is fairly conservative. Again, let me point out a couple of examples, right? Joe Biden's given more money to the police during a time of where a lot of progressives have been calling to defund the police. Not only that, but the Biden administration has been wanting to give more money to the military doing more deportations, using Donald Trump's pandemic rules. And by the way, the newest development here, the Biden administration is considering allowing the Trump tax cuts for corporations to stay in place when it comes to dealing with infrastructure. So, yeah, there's not much for them to really complain about other than bullshit culture war issues. So they, of course, straw man. You see all the tweets and all the, all the commentary from conservatives. Oh, Biden, he's a socialist. He's a secret communist. He's being controlled by the very far left. Yes, those far left communists, and the Chinese Communist Party and AOC and Bernie. Yeah, those are the people that are controlling Joe Biden. No. I mean, again, don't threaten us with a good time. I wish. The distraction, total nonsense. But again, Mike Pence, right? Now, here's my fear, okay, from this, gathering and Pence's statements, because he's not going hard after Trump, but he's also not being pro-Trump. You know what I'm saying? He's like, again, being super milquetoasty, which means I think he's looking to get rehabilitated by the media. Call me crazy, right? Because, understand though, Pence is not a stupid person. He is somebody who I think is smarter politically than a lot of people would give him credit for. And I say that because he had already been governor of, I believe, Indiana. And so when he was governor, he was far, far to the right, extremely right-wing, anti-choice, obviously pro-Trump. But in the era of Trump, you've noticed that he stayed relatively silent, where he was always in the background, waiting, I guess, maybe for some chance to seize power. And he was basically ignored for most of the 4 years, and then comes out and finally says something super mild and oh, we don't see eye to eye, but also Democrats bad. And January 6th bad, Democrats bad. So I think he's trying to walk the line, trying to please the both sides. You got the base and you got the establishment. And I think it's probably him trying to set himself up for maybe some sort of future political aspiration. That's just me. The thing, of course, is that the base already hates him. Again, hang Mike Pence, which is what they were chanting. And so I don't exactly know how that's going to go. Do Republicans have short memories? I mean, we're going to have to see. But I see him being, he's trying to be rehabilitated. And that's my worry, is that it's actually going to work. After all, I mean, he's not Trump, right? Oh, he's just a vice president. Just kind of it wasn't there, disappeared, didn't really do anything bad or anything like that. I mean, he even certified the election. And so, now he's facing all sorts of threats from MAGA. Oh, poor Mike Pence. Oh, no. Poor Mike Pence. How long until, Michelle Obama gives him a candy like she did George W. Bush? No, we can't have it. Can't have it. Fuck this guy. Let's not do that. All right. If this happens, if he gets rehabilitated, then we've learned absolutely nothing and deserve everything that we get when and if he runs for office and possibly wins. I don't know if that will happen. I don't know if he'd win a Republican primary. But God help us, I'm not at all interested. Yikes. Mike Pence supported gay conversion. Yes, and he also signed some of the most extreme abortion bills that we had seen before. And so, yeah, not interested at all in Mike Pence. Yikes. Okay. Let's do the enraging story, and then lighten it up with some candy. So, do that. All right. It appears that President Joe Biden might be willing to cave to Republicans when it comes to infrastructure. So now Biden has been pushing an infrastructure plan, which is about $2 trillion. It's badly needed for this country. However, Republicans, they don't want to do that. And so Republicans have to thank Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema for making it basically impossible for Joe Biden to pass that infrastructure bill. So now he's trying to get Republican votes by offering a compromise, which is pissing off progressives. So now, let me give you the details on that. So Biden, his compromise offer to Senate Republicans on infrastructure would leave the corporate tax rate of 15% established under the Trump administration and make it permanent, while also cutting the original $2.2 trillion American Jobs Plan in half. So corporate tax rates stay the same, and we only get half of infrastructure. When in reality, of course, we should get like a $4 trillion infrastructure deal. But no, not going to happen. Jesus. All right. So now, as the Washington Post reported on Thursday, Biden signaled during a closed-door meeting with the GOP's top infrastructure negotiator that he would be open to significant revisions of the size of his infrastructure package and how it would be paid for in order to try to get Republican support, outlining a plan for about $1 trillion in new spending, financed through tax changes that do not appear to raise the corporate tax rate. Now, that is, of course, a red flag because, well, they're not going to tax the rich. Where's the money going to come from? If you're middle class, you might end up getting stuck with the bill. Instead of hiking the corporate tax rate to 28%, as he originally had promised and proposed in his original package, the president floated the minimum corporate tax rate of 15% aimed at profitable companies that pay little to no in federal taxes. 15%. Now, 15% is lower than the average middle-class person has to pay in taxes. Why is that even on the table? Again, not only are you going to offer to cut your plan in half, which is half the investment that it was that it was going to, when already $2.2 trillion was the compromise. Now you're going to compromise it even further just to give Republicans also exactly what they want on taxes when you had the majority. Why? If we're going to give Republicans everything that they want, why not just vote Republican? That's, again, I'm not saying that, but what's the point? What's the point? This is not what we elected Democrats to do. And I understand Biden is handicapped by Congress. I get it, right? Well, that's why you use the bully pulpit. That's why you say, hey, Joe Manchin, you better vote with us or we're going to make your life incredibly difficult politically. All right? Because we have the tools, we have the opportunities to be able to do that, to make it very, very hard for you to get reelected. Maybe we'll support a progressive primary challenger to you. They could do that, but they choose not to, of course. And they could do the same to Kyrsten Sinema. But no. We must protect our precious Joe Manchin. We can't allow any sort of challenge to him because, West Virginia. All right. So again, Republicans, and here's the other infuriating part about this. And there's so much that just irritates me. But you have Republicans that are already on the record of saying our number one goal is to make sure that Biden gets nothing done whatsoever. There will be no bipartisanship. You will give us whatever we want, and you'll do it now, and you'll still get nothing that you want. because we're not at all interested in giving you any sort of victory. See, it's maddening because whenever Republicans are in charge, well, they get what they want. But when Democrats are in charge, Republicans still get what they want. So, and I mean more money for cops. That is not what something that progressives and Democrats want. More money for the military, more money for ICE, more tax breaks for corporations. I will never forget and forgive that it was Barack Obama that made most of Bush tax cuts permanent. And now, oh, look at that. We're going to keep the corporate tax rate that you promised to raise. No, we're going to keep it at 15%. During the Obama administration, it was 35%. Biden, even before then, Biden was like, oh, no, 28%, good enough. Yeah, we're not going to raise it to 35%. No. We're going to raise it to only 28%. So we're not even going to go back to Obama levels for corporate tax rates. And he won't even do that. Nope, 15%. Here's our offer. Well, then what was the goddamn point? No $15 minimum wage, no public option, no changes to prescription drug prices, which is incredibly easy to do. Oh, hell, something that he could do without Congress that he's refusing to do. Student loans. Not going to cancel student loans, which he could. No, not going to do anything. Not even $10,000 in student loans, which is barely even enough. He's not going to do that. Nothing. Nada. Not going to do a goddamn thing on any of those fronts. I mean, the American Family Plan, the American Jobs Plan, they're good. They could go pretty further, but guess what? It's moot at this point, okay? Because if you don't end the filibuster and get past Republican obstruction with the slim majority that you have, and you do that by standing up to Manchin and bullying him into supporting your agenda and the party's agenda overall, then you might as well give up everything because it's not going to happen. And if it, and by the way, the other thing is, if you try to negotiate with Republicans, obviously they're bad faith actors, but what are you going to do? You're going to cut your plan down to just about nothing. So it's not going to do any good anyway. And that happens every single time. And when you do that, you can't really celebrate much of a win. And when you don't have any wins, you lose the majority because you've done nothing. And so you're going to get rewarded with nothing. And Republicans will run on that, and they'll say, don't worry, we can do stuff. Elect us. Put us back into power. Trust me, it'll work this time. We'll cut taxes on the rich, and we'll deregulate, and somehow that will help the rest of us. We've all seen this movie before. We've lived through this movie. It is the same playbook that continues to lead the country further and further to the right, and I'm so incredibly tired of it. And progressives are calling it out as well. Representative Jamal Bowman, in a statement, said this: if what we've read is true, I would have a very difficult time voting yes on this bill. Look, good words. I kind of want to see some action here. I would love to see Bowman say, and use his vote to say, absolutely not. So again, it is the actions that are most important here. But more from Bowman. He says $2 trillion was already the compromise. President Biden can't expect us to vote for an infrastructure deal dictated by the Republican Party. The crises we face are immense and urgent. We have an economic crisis, a climate crisis, and a racial injustice crisis. We have a historic opportunity to act, and history will not judge us kindly if we let it pass us by. Well, look, the pandemic would have been a fantastic opportunity to get Medicare for all, or at least push for that public option. And obviously, that didn't happen. Biden completely forgot about the public option. Just not doing it anymore. The pursuit of Republican votes, this is the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which again needs to do more than just tweet. They need to exercise some power. But here's what they said. The pursuit of Republican votes cannot come at the expense of necessary, urgent, and popular investments. For a just, equitable package that meets the moment, both physical and social infrastructure are essential. Progressives will not be forced to choose between them. Unfortunately, we're probably going to end up seeing exactly that happen. Again, call me a pessimist, but this is what's going to happen, unfortunately. But they continue. Americans overwhelmingly support raising corporate taxes, especially when used as pay for. This is Morris Pearl of Patriotic Millionaires. They said that while we are generally supportive of tax minimums, the compromise the Biden administration is reportedly offering on corporate taxes is not good enough. Americans overwhelmingly support raising corporate taxes, especially when used as a pay for. The bipartisan majority of American voters backing him in this issue, President Biden must stand strong on all aspects of his plan to raise corporate taxes. Corporations and Republicans in Congress should not get to drive the debate on corporate taxes when they stand opposed to any increases at all. Representative Ro Khanna also told HuffPost, I disagree with the decision to remove the increase in the corporate tax rate from infrastructure discussions. The American people overwhelmingly support making corporations pay their fair share. $1 trillion is a non-starter, Evan Weber, political director of the youth-led Sunrise Movement, said. In response, the president should be meeting with the young people who elected him, not the party who is abetting the lie that he wasn't even duly elected. Are our futures negotiable? Well, apparently for Biden, anything's negotiable, except for, of course, progressive priorities. What can be done, right? Well, I mean, there's a couple of options. Reconciliation. You just ignore Republicans. You set up a reconciliation bill. You're not going to get everything you want out of it, obviously, because there's some things that you can't go through reconciliation. But like budgetary matters, they absolutely can. So you could do that and ignore Republicans. And I know, but what about bipartisanship? The media will scream, bipartisanship, because they have a hard-on for it. Well, they might, but the American people don't. Nobody cares about bipartisanship. In fact, according to recent polling by Data for Progress, a majority, 58% of American voters, would support passage of the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan, Biden's signature policy positions, the $1.8 trillion safety net expansion, using budget reconciliation. We're basically cutting Republicans out because they're obstructionists. They say, we like these plans. If Republicans don't want to pass them, well, then sad day for them. Because we support this and we want you to pass it. Nobody cares about bipartisanship. Only the elites in Washington, only the people in the media and the cocktail circuit give a shit about bipartisanship. And Joe Manchin, who wants to get his ass kissed from both sides. Okay, bipartisanship right now is an absolute joke. And by the way, look at the bipartisan counteroffer. Okay, Shelley Moore Capito, the Republican negotiator, outlined an infrastructure counterproposal that called for a total of $257 billion in spending. No spending for green energy, no spending for elder care. So fuck the climate and fuck older people. And then, well, that's our offer. So basically, fuck everybody. Well, that's a terrible offer. It's beyond a joke. It's an insult. You can thank Joe Manchin again for that, who indicated on Thursday that he has no interest in pursuing an infrastructure bill with only Democratic support. Sinema also at this point, tripled down on defending the filibuster and making sure that basically we get nothing done. Nothing. Manchin told NBC News, quote, basically, we need to be bipartisan. No, you can take your bipartisanship and shove it up your ass. You are right-wing trash. You are garbage. You are literally standing in the way of, millions of Americans getting needed relief and infrastructure being built, roads, bridges, all that stuff. Elder care. Joe Manchin is also saying, fuck old people. Yeah. And he's giving Republicans political cover as well. Look, maybe it sounds cliche, but at this point, Joe Manchin is essentially an op. Okay, right-wing conservative inside the Democratic Party, giving aid and comfort to Republicans and helps them block anything that happens. He is only out for himself, and apparently he has more interest in protecting the Republican Party than actually, supporting Democratic efforts to make the country better. And that's really it. In a statement on Thursday, Bowman also countered that, quote, Republicans have given Democratic governance the middle finger since the day President Biden was inaugurated. We can't and won't reward them by keeping Donald Trump's corporate tax cuts in place and slashing our infrastructure package in half. No Republican vote in favor of infrastructure package should supersede our mission to build an America that works for the people, not for massive corporations. Getting Republicans on board is not necessary. Getting the American people back on their feet is. And look, I like the words. That's great. I totally agree with it. But I got to see some action, right? And not really on behalf so much of Bowman, because, again, he's out there. He's challenging Joe Manchin to get off his ass. But really, the pressure needs to come from Biden. You know, how do you get Manchin and Sinema to go along with the rest of the party? Well, I got an idea. You threaten their funding. You threaten their re-election chances. You shouldn't be getting money and votes, as a Democrat, if you're not going to be a Democrat. If you're not going to actually help the majority of the party in some of their positions. And you might be saying this, but okay, well, then what about people like, progressives that buck the party trend to try to go in a progressive direction? But understand that tactic's already been used against progressives in the past and gets used all the time. For example, no DNC funding to progressives that run primary challenges against other Democrats, not allowing them to get access to the NGP van mailing lists, things like, that resources that help people, really conduct primary challenges against establishment Democrats. They love using those strong arm tactics against progressive legislators. But Joe Manchin, again, apparently he must be special because he's a Democrat from West Virginia. And therefore, the conventional thinking is, well, obviously we need him. We need to keep our majority, even though he's actually hindering the majority from actually getting anything done. We can't let him lose, though. Well, what's the point? If protecting him makes it so that we end up losing the majority anyway, because he blocked everything from getting done, then what's the point? No, look, Biden and the DNC, they have the power to pressure Manchin using the tools they have, mainly funding, access to donors, things like that, but they refuse to use them to try to pressure him. And that, unfortunately, is going to cost him and will ultimately cost us both. All right. So, yeah, that's my dose of cynicism for the day. Let's go to some candy. A black delivery man had finally had enough of being interrogated by a wealthy white person during a delivery to an affluent California neighborhood. And so that white man got chewed out, and it was fantastic. And so video of the confrontation, by the way, was uploaded to Instagram on Thursday. I'm going to show you some of that. Take a look.
I want identification. Who are you?
Who the are you? Why do you think that I have to answer your questions? Why do you think that I have to answer your questions, dude?
So who are you with?
It's none of your business. It's none of your business. Get out of my way.
Who are those addressed to?
Don't worry about what the I'm doing. Get out of my face. Every time I come around here, motherfucker like you make my job harder. Please get out of my face, dude.
But you haven't identified yourself.
That's none of your business. Why do I have to get? Why do you think that I have to identify myself?
Let me see
Don't. You ain't seeing nothing. You ain't seeing nothing. Don't worry about who I'm with. It's none of your business.
Who are the boxes addressed to?
Total Karen behavior, obviously, or is it Ken behavior? I forget what a male Karen is called, but I think there's a lot of disagreement on what a male Karen is called. But anyway, it's that behavior, all right? And so, look, this guy, the delivery guy, seems like it really sounds like this is not the first time this has happened. That he continues to be, harassed every time he shows up, and finally frustrated, right? And so, according to the caption of the video, which was uploaded to the Lost Soul Courier Collective's Instagram page, that delivery man was delivering Narcan to a safe house, a halfway house in the neighborhood of Pacific Heights. And here's what he said. For those who don't know its reputation, Pac Heights is one of the most affluent, snobby, and white neighborhoods in San Francisco. It's a neighborhood of old money, unlike the heavily gentrified neighborhoods where new tech money has displaced historically black and brown communities. Everyone who grew up here knows that there's an invisible line drawn on the corner of Fillmore and Sutter that separates Pac Heights from Uptown Fillmore. A line which I rarely care to cross because this type of thing is a common occurrence in my everyday life. And so he has been there before, he has dealt with this before, and finally, no, not going to deal with it anymore. And so I want to show you a highlight, because this was a 7-minute video. Obviously, I can't show you the whole thing, but I want to give you a content warning for language. So the language is going to get a little rough here, but I think it's definitely worth watching. Putting this Ken in his place.
Call them now. You should call them. For what? Tell me what you're calling them for.
Because you're harassing me.
Oh, now it's harassment. Before, it was because I was walking down the street. Now I'm harassing you? Didn't you call for me from that fucking window right there? Didn't you call for me? I was across the street. You called out to me. I didn't come over here looking for you.
Don't harass me, okay?
Hey, nah. Call the cops. Call the cops, please. Please, call the cops. You fucked up. No, because you're an asshole, and this is why people fucking die. Motherfuckers that look like me die because of motherfuckers that look like you. Have you not opened up a fucking newspaper? Can you not look around and see what the fuck is going on because of this bullshit right here? Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit, man. And now, motherfuckers like me, got little fucking handhold recording devices in our pockets. So bullshit assholes like you can't get away with the bullshit you be pulling anymore. So go ahead, call the fucking cops. We didn't have to do none of this. We didn't have to do none of this at all. I've been here all my fucking life. 30 years I've been in this fucking city right here. And every time I come around here, a motherfucker that looks like you got a problem with a motherfucker that looks like me. You think that's coincidence? You ain't got nothing to say now, do you? Do you? You gotta bother me while I'm doing my fucking job. A hard, honest work living like you assholes always say, hey, get a job. I got a job, right? You motherfuckers still fucking with me. So what now?
Oh, that's so good. That's so goddamn good. Finally, somebody puts that guy in his place. And it's not just him personally. It's everybody that's like that. That acts like that. That has to go, that sees a black person just doing their job, minding their own business, doing what they got to do, hustling to survive, right? And like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who's the packages addressed to? That's none of your business. Again, he's doing his job. But of course, the assumption here is he was stealing. In fact, in the post, the Courier added this: I've never seen this guy before in my life. I pose no threat to his safety or his property. He threatened to call the cops on me, which he did several times, by the way, in the full-length video. Several times. Threatened to call the police, and then was like, well, I didn't actually call the police. And he continued by saying, and after I talked some shit to him, he admitted that that was an empty threat because there was no crime. He explained that things had come up missing in the neighborhood, so it must have been me who stole his shit. I'm guessing that in his mind, I had no right to be walking down his street, and I must have been looking for something to steal. I have a strong feeling that he wouldn't have harassed me if I was of a lighter complexion, but this is an everyday thing when you're a man of color living in America. True. Here's the thing about this. He's right. This is what it's like to be black in America. Again, you can see me. The only insight that we have into what it's like to be a black person in America is videos like this. And that's what, of course, has made cell phones, smartphones with cameras so incredibly important into really revealing, pulling back the curtain between the two Americas that we have. White people, we don't have to deal with this. I've never had to deal with anything like this. I've never had people be, oh, what are you doing? Oh, who's that addressed to? Where are you going? What are you doing in my neighborhood? Never had an interrogation. But this happens to black people all the time. Delivery drivers, police officers, black police officers getting the police called on them for being in their yard late at night with a flashlight. That's what it's like being black in America. Okay? Constantly questioned, constantly vilified, painted as thieves, thugs, bad people for the color of their skin. And that's it. That's racism. That's bias. It needs to stop. It has to stop. It just has to stop. I love this guy finally fighting back, showing, just obviously showing what people, what he goes through on a daily basis, going through these certain affluent, white, racist neighborhoods, old money, and then finally fighting back. I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. Anyway. Thank you all for going around the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Let's see. I cannot see your name, which is weird. All right, here we go. Super chat, so disappointed in Biden. The Democrats don't fight for the progressives. The progressives right now, they are calling it out, but I want to see some action. I do want to see more pressure. And so hopefully we do get to see that and Biden backs away. But again, we're going to have to see. Let's see. Gilgort, thank you for subscribing with Prime. 3 months, take my Danish Bezos money. Hey, thank you so much. It really goes to help the show. Cow Ticket, thank you for 3 months at Tier 1. Really appreciate that. Crazy Hawaiian PA, I gave you a shout out as well. Thank you for that, for subscribing with Prime, and those of you who are not subscribing with Prime. You're all amazing. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. All right, so that's it. Have a great weekend. We're going to be back, obviously, on Monday. And so, thank you all for going around the nation today. Please remember to like and share the stream. Also, check out my conversation with Mike, the Humanist Report, on his Twitch channel. Let me look that up real quick here, just to make sure that I get the right place that I'm gonna send you. Okay, where are you? Pretty sure it's Humanist Report, but I wanna make sure. Awkward. Always awkward. Yeah, it's just Humanist Report. So, go there, check out that VOD from last night. Great stream. Other than that, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Remember, change begins with you.
Who's got a hammer?
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
How you like that, boy?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.